Hello everyone, the Instant Camera Guy here, and welcome to an episode that is going to feature a very baffling camera. There is a Latin phrase, caveat emptor. It means pretty much let the buyer beware. And it is a phrase that is used to imply that everyone, when they are purchasing something, should do their own research and ask the seller of the item lots of questions to ensure that they get a good deal, or in other words, to ensure that they don't get ripped off. The camera that I'm about to show you was handed over to me by a client of mine who actually came to me because they want this SLR 680 refurbished. And good on them. They did their research in regards to this camera and they know that these are very prone to having their mirror fail. It's got the synthetic skin, and my client knows that all good SLR cameras, if they are going to be expected to work properly, should be serviced. So before using the camera, they decided to send it my way. And one of the things that they offered me as in terms of partial payment is a Polaroid Sun 660 autofocus. They said that they were in no need of it anymore, that they didn't necessarily want it, and would I be interested as partial credit to go towards the restoration of this SLR 680. And that is something that I occasionally do, especially if it's something that I need parts for, and I happen to need a few parts for that camera because I'm currently out of stock of them. To cut a long story short, when they were chatting to me on the phone, they said that it was modified to take I-type. And now that made my ears prick up because I've done a lot of I-type conversions in the past on Sun 660s, and I thought, hey, maybe I'm getting one of my old cameras back. To which they said, no, it wasn't refurbished by me. They hadn't bought it. It didn't say that it was refurbished by me at all. Apparently, they had bought it from an online marketplace. I won't go into too much details. That they had purchased it locally. To which I said, well, my hopes aren't very high, because as far as I know, I'm the only one specializing in Polaroid repairs. So if you've got it from some other person, well, it might be good, but I'm gonna, just because I don't know of anyone else in Australia doing what I do, I figured, well, perhaps it's some kind of home job or something like that. Anyway, I got it delivered today. So let's suss it out, shall we? Check this out. Now, to be clear here, this was attached when I got it, but yeah, let's have a look at the quality, shall we? First of all, the top of the camera body is warped for some reason, like an extreme heat source has been placed onto the plastic shell, like a heat gun or something. The battery holder, same type that I use, has been super glued to the body, which left a lovely white stain absolutely everywhere. They put a switch here on the strap panel. The switch was sitting there. It was a little toggle switch, a big silver looking one. As I tried to investigate and see how it was held on, it wasn't held on by anything. It was just sitting there. The entire top housing of the silver switch completely came loose. When I flipped it over, I then noticed the camera doesn't have its tripod socket. In fact, there is just a hole. Yeah. So my client paid good money for this. And I don't know who to be more disappointed in, to be honest. Someone that thought that this was an acceptable quality of work, or the buyer that thought that this was somehow an acceptable quality of work. I mean, I don't want to rag on people too much if they are DIYing things, right? I don't really take an issue if your hobby is tinkering with stuff, even if you're, not particularly great at it. Maybe you're all thumbs and have a habit of breaking things, but you like seeing how things come apart. I don't have a problem with people attempting DIY repairs, especially if they want to save money, or they want to figure out how their camera works, or they're just interested in it. That's not my problem. My issue is when people that clearly lack the skills to do good quality repairs do said repairs, and then try and pass the work off as something that's been refurbished and charge good money for said item. That's where I start to get irritated. Fortunately, the camera inside still works. So what I plan on doing here is basically rescuing this thing, and I actually have the shell of a broken Sun 600, which I'm going to use for spare parts in order to get this thing working. I have prepared off camera my own battery holder with the toggle switch inside the battery compartment. And what I will be doing is basically swapping the guts over and rescuing this thing because it is in a very sorry state. I'm going to be keeping that rubber eye cup because those always go missing and they are handy to have. I think I'm just going to cut that battery adapter straight off. It's not even worth saving. All of the wires have been chewed up for some reason. I'd also like to note that the person that has done this has chosen to use a soldering iron to make a hole in the plastic battery box. Now that's, although that's not an amazing thing to do, it's not necessarily a bad idea. I mean, I've used soldering iron to melt plastic into shapes and that kind of stuff a lot of times over the years, but I would at least neaten it up so that it's not kind of this melty looking oblong shape. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do as I take this thing apart, I'm going to use this opportunity to educate the person who did this on how they can improve in the future. So first of all, buy a drill and get yourself a 1/8 drill bit because it's going to be a much better option for getting into the poking wires into the shell of the camera. Let's get that flash off to the side there. So that's my number one tip is, get a drill. Drilling a hole is much easier, less stinky, and much neater than using a soldering iron. Soldering iron should be used for soldering. They are good at melting plastic, yes, but that isn't their primary use. Right. Let's pull this thing out. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me just, that's... Okay. My next tip, when it comes to switches and things like that, try and use color-coded wires. This is the positive terminal down here. So positive terminal is generally a red color. Having black wire that goes to it can end up leading to confusion. And if you accidentally get those wires confused and you send the wrong one, if you send positive to negative and negative to positive, you will blow up the camera. I know from experience, I've done it before. So that's another tip. Try and use the correct color of wires. What else can I say here? Get better quality solder. This is very cheap tin solder. I can tell because the metal terminals here have had to be soldered with a lot of heat, and that's actually melted some of the plastic. Now, fortunately, that isn't going to do any damage or affect the performance of the camera, but it has warped the terminal. Another pro tip, clean the lenses of the camera if you're going to be opening it up. This is legitimately filled with fungus. Like, I can't make this up. Like, this is almost opaque. It's very, very difficult to see through. And you have to open up the camera in order to access these parts. So if it's worth doing, it's worth doing properly. While you're inside, give everything a good clean. What else can I say? Another tip, don't use super glue to glue ABS plastic to ABS plastic in this kind of way. JB Weld probably would have been a better option, but I use double-sided body molding tape because not only is it cheap, it's easy to apply, and it's insanely strong. It also gives the battery holder a little bit of flexibility so that if something ever hits the holder, it's not going to snap straight off. Because I was able to literally clip it off like straight from the back of the like the force involved. I was literally like, is that super glue? And the whole thing came off. Super glue is very, very good for like sticking two halves of something together, and only for certain types of plastics. It doesn't work very well with all plastics. So yeah, this is not something that I would use super glue for. Not when double-sided body molding tape exists. It's just a much better option. But yeah, so those are the main cardinal sins that I'm seeing here. But yeah, definitely, like, if you're going to be pulling something like this apart, it makes sense to clean all the lenses while you've got it off. Now, I'm going to be using this lens since it is in far better condition. But yeah, you can pop the lens cells out for maximum cleaning. Like if you, where's a spike? Here we go. If you really want to be, what's the word that I'm looking for here? If you really want to be thorough, you can remove the lens from the tubular housing here, and then using a nice like sunglasses cleaning cloth or something like that, just give the lens a little wipe down. I'm doing this just to show you guys that it's possible, but that lens was perfectly clean. It didn't even need to be opened up. Right. Now, the camera that I'm using doesn't have a tripod socket. Unfortunately, the Sun 600 series is supposed to come out with a tripod socket. Now, to be honest, it's a bit of a useless socket because there's no like remote shutter release for the camera. So actually making use of it is actually quite difficult to do. And there we go. This metal tongue here prevents the insertion of I-type packs of film inside the camera. And given that this model doesn't have a tripod socket, we actually don't need to reinstall that little metal bit at all. But normally what happens is this little metallic tongue holds down the tripod socket at the base of the camera. So if your model is one that doesn't have a tripod socket, you can simply just remove this. What you have to do in I-type conversions, you've got to cut this tongue down. And I like to use a Dremel to do that, to remove that little piece and have it completely flat. And then you can put the tripod socket back in place, and then that clip will hold it in place. I'm assuming that what this person has done is gone, that metal tongue's getting in the way, removed it, and also removed the tripod socket, which is just not correct. I mean, you can quite easily modify this tongue so that it can hold the socket in place. And I've actually done that in previous videos that I've done on the subject of I-type modifying cameras. But yeah, let's just put this thing back together, shall we? I'm just dusting the insides. I mean, this donor camera that I'm using for the body is very, very, very clean. I'm hoping... Yeah, that should work fine. Okay, so I'm going to use the original door because that's got the metallic rollers, so they're slightly better anyway. Let's have a look at the mirror. Yeah, super dusty here too. A lot of scratches inside somehow. I don't know why that's the case. Like there's a lot of marks on the internal plastic here. Maybe if I get my lamp, you guys can see. See all these scratches? Like some kind of tool has been used and poked around inside here. I don't know why that would be the case. I can guess that perhaps the person that did this refurb didn't know how to pull the guts out of the shell of the camera. And so maybe scratched it with some kind of a tool. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just going to give the mirror a little bit of a wipe down and a dust since it was just as filthy as the viewfinder. This is super important to do if you want clean image quality. If you don't have a clean mirror, you're going to get a lot of dark spots in your photos, which is just really not ideal. let's move that terminal out of the way, actually, so I can clean it a little more efficiently here without those brass springs springing around. They make a really good sound, don't they? Anyway, now we can put it back. Cool. All right. We are approaching being finished here, guys. I now need to trim a few little bits of wire here. Oh, one pro tip when you're soldering to the original battery terminals on this camera, there are actually loops that the wire can travel through on the terminal. There's no need to solder on top. You can solder through. You just need to know where to slide the wire. Now, I'm using 2 black wires for the negative terminals, and I just need to make sure I'm getting the continuity correct. Put it on the beep mode. Beep. Battery. Great. So that is the one that is going to go there. I'm just going to get some heat shrink. All right, this is going to be a fairly quick video, guys. But yeah, I wanted to raise this because one thing I've found over the years is with the rise of Polaroid cameras has come the rise of bad quality repairs. Polaroid cameras, like 600 cameras, SX70s in particular, are interesting cameras because they're like guaranteed to need servicing. And if you want to know why, go and check out really any of the videos that I've done on SX70 cameras. And I think there are a lot of people out there that see, you know, modifying and reskinning these things as a bit of a speculative investment, like a way to make quick money. They think that you can, you know, slap a battery adapter on a camera, put a new skin on it, and double your money. And I've seen lots of those type of businesses crop up over the years. They rise, they fall, they rename as someone else, and then they do it all over again. And so, I don't really know what the point of this video is other than to show off just how wildly bad this one was repaired. But I think the main take-home message I want everyone to have, as it starts bucketing rain outside my window, is I want everyone to do their research. A good rule of thumb, find out the technician's name. Right? Try and buy from someone that has a name so you know who you're dealing with. My name is Jake, and, you know, my name is out there, right? I've been trading under the Instant Camera Guy for 12 years, something like that. I've never changed it once. I've never rebranded or anything like that. And, you know, my face is on the internet, so I think that instills people with a certain amount of trust. I also have a lot of experience. Now, there are other technicians out there, of course. You don't have to send your stuff to me. But do your research and find out who it is that you're buying from. What are their credentials? What's their experience? What's their reputation like online? Ask around on forums, that type of thing. I'll actually use the other flash trigger from the other camera because it's in better shape. They are exactly the same. Okay. Great. This lens is clean. No, it's actually not. I take that back. It's actually pretty grubby. It's cleaner than the inside one was, but still pretty gross. So that I will give a wipe with some glass cleaner. But yeah, it's little things like this. Like, you guys are seeing me do this live. I wanted to do this all in like a single take, just to show how little time it takes to go the extra mile and make sure that something's clean. The viewfinder was just so dirty on this camera, like all aspects of it. All aspects of it are so grubby. And I don't understand, like, you've already got the camera apart. Take the literal 2 seconds. Okay, well, the literal 45 seconds that it takes to clean that. Now, fortunately, they have cleaned the lens, so I will give them marks there. That's spotless. But I don't understand why you would leave that. Like, you couldn't even see through the viewfinder. All right. Now, the best part about all this is we have a flash now that isn't even sitting on a warped panel. All right. Now, let's grab some Kratex batteries. I hope these are charged. Let's grab a pack of I-type film. Here we go, empty pack. I've set it to internal batteries. Insert that. Yay! We have life. I'm just going to charge up the flash. Just looking through the little... Beautiful. All right. We have one working Polaroid 660. Now with actual effort put into the 600 conversion. Last thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to use my soldering iron to just melt down the plastic stakes. So this is a genuine use for a soldering iron here, to just melt down those plastic heat stakes, just to keep that switch held in place. There we go. And that is it. As simple as that. I think mine looks a little bit neater, don't you? But yeah, having the switch inside, I guess, keeps it a bit more waterproof, makes it look a bit more aesthetically neat. It's just a better idea. And fortunately, no harm was done to the internals of the camera. So all I have to do now is go and calibrate this thing, make sure that the flash is tuned in and that everything is working as it should, and this thing will be able to have a nice new life. Yeah, so just to summarize here, because this has been a bit of a weird video. I mean, it's been what? About half an hour, just in total. Yeah, please do your research in terms of buying anything that is refurbished in the land of Polaroid cameras. Figure out who did it. Make sure that you know who you're buying from. Make sure that the work on it has been done to some kind of satisfactory quality. If you see something obvious, for example, like body panels have been repaired with super glue and that there's just switches just loosely sitting there that aren't even... I mean, look at this. Like, it's cut so roughly at the back here. It's really not that hard to do this neatly, guys. Like, if you don't have the tools to a hobby file set is very, very cheap. Like, you can go to JCar, and I think they're about $30 for a set of hobby files to just sit there and take a few seconds to make it smooth, Like that already looks a lot better. I'm just going to prove a point here. But this is the kind of thing that annoys me, to know that someone was selling this for basically the same price that I would charge as someone that's running a legitimate business here and that, pays taxes and that kind of stuff. As far as I'm concerned, this client just got totally ripped off. Anyway, caveat emptor, buyer beware. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I will see you in the next video.